Ladies and gentlemen, we are live with Material Issues. Believe it or not, this is episode number 59. I'm one of your hosts. I'm Mark Hershberger of Pop Detective Records. I'm thrilled to be here every Wednesday as always. And my good friend from the other side of the USA, Mr. David Bash of the International Pop Overthrow Festival. David, welcome to episode number 59 of Material Issues. How you doing tonight, buddy?
I'm doing well, Mark. How are you?
I'm doing good. We've discussed earlier about all kinds of things going on in our lives, and some of which are wonderful, some of which, hurt a little bit, but we're still here, and we're still enjoying life and everything it has to offer. So I'm happy as heck to be here. Episode 59 Wednesday.
Yeah, I'm enjoying most of what life has to offer. Some things I no longer can enjoy, but we won't go there.
Some things in life are sad. They can really can we sing always look on the bright side of life? Can we get everybody to join in?
Well, there are definitely plenty of bright sides. I mean, and I'm grateful for all of them. And of course, one of the ones for which I'm most grateful is IPO, and we're finally back in a couple of days. We start our 2-evening IPO San Diego at a club called
Diego. I believe that means a whale's vagina. Was that Anchorman?
You know what? I've never seen that.
Oh my God, San Diego.
Oh, there are tons of classic films I've never seen. And, but anyway,
Ron Burgundy.
Yeah. No, I know Will Ferrell, right?
Yeah.
I remember. Never got around to seeing that one.
That's
one day. Anyway, 2 nights, 12 acts. Some that we've. Well, first I should mention we haven't done IPO in San Diego since 2016.
Wow.
We were in a really cool venue there for a couple of years that unfortunately was sold and was turned into something else. And I tried a couple other venues and they weren't available. And I said, whatever. And then I just had the hankering to go back, and was able to get into this club, Black Cat Bar. And we're looking forward to seeing some old friends. Hey, Gary. Looking forward to seeing some old friends like Bart Mendoza and Hector Peñalosa and Scott Samuels, Steve Rosenbaum, to get reacquainted with former IPO participants like Tamar Burke, who will also be playing in San Diego.
I think Tamar just joined the channel.
Yes, she did. I did. As I mentioned to you before air, I alerted the bands who were playing in the upcoming IPO Los Angeles, hey Andy, about Material Issues. I don't know why, but it hadn't occurred to me to actually let the IPO bands know. I had posted on Facebook. I had posted in all these different power pop groups and the soft pop group and No Hipsters Allowed and all of those sites. It's like, why didn't I just tell all the bands playing IPO about it? So we started with LA, and I'll contact some of the other ones, and we'll get a bunch of members that way for sure.
You could make it part of the registration process to play IPO is that they join Material Issues.
Join. And if we don't see you join, you're out. Yeah.
If I don't see you join, you're not going to play. Yeah.
Yes, Gary. IPO is still coming to Arlington, Texas. We will still be at Black Box 215. I know it's closed or will be closed at the end of the month, but they're great people, and they're going to open just for us for those 4 nights.
Cool.
And we're very grateful. So yeah, we'll be back. More details on all of that later. But yeah, so we've got San Diego this weekend. Then we have 9 days of LA. Starting on the 14th, we will not be. This is the first time this has ever happened in Los Angeles, but we will have a little break in the action after the 14th. We will not have a show on the 15th, and then we will from the 16th through 23rd. That's just the way the cookie crumbled this year. But post-COVID, there's all kinds of stuff that's happening that we'd never had to deal with before. So
Right. Yeah.
it is what it is, and you just do the best you can. So yeah, San Diego. I know who that is, Mr. John Borak, paraphrasing a Ball 4 line. You've read Ball 4, haven't you, Mark?
Oh, sure. Yeah. I mean, yeah. If you're
one of the greatest baseball books of all.
If you're a baseball fan,
it's in some ways it's kind of like the Bull Durham of baseball books, in that you don't really have to like baseball that much to appreciate the book, because it's more of a human interest book.
Yeah.
The author Jim Bouton, being a player for the Seattle Pilots, their only year of existence. Yeah. He had been a star pitcher with the Yankees prior, and he was basically on his way down and had a little bit of a reprieve. He had been injured, and it came up with a new pitch, the knuckleball, and the Ball 4 is basically a diary of his 1969 season with the Seattle Pilots and the Houston Astros. And it's a very funny book. And at the time, a lot of revelations, including many that the baseball establishment did not want to see, because it made baseball players more human, with the same kind of foibles that everybody else had, and also exposure to things that other people didn't have, and therefore it revealed some of their excesses, shall we say?
I still love some pictures from the 60s and the 70s where the managers and the players are smoking cigarettes in the dugout, and
people did know about that, though.
Yeah.
But they didn't necessarily know that players were getting drunk all the time and fooling around on their wives, and
all the extra,
and of course beaver shooting. For those of you who don't know, the act of climbing to the roof of a hotel, finding an open window where a woman is either getting undressed or, shall we say, in the middle of a paramour, and just players just waiting to see that happen. That's what beaver shooting was all about. And we're getting lots of. So John Borak and I often use quotes from that book. We'll either paraphrase or use them directly in situations having nothing to do with the book. And we just make each other laugh doing that. It's fun. It's a lot of fun.
Oh, which is great.
Anyway, I mean, you and I could talk about Ball 4 for. Let's talk about something that's a film that we just saw that's also very 60s related. And by the way, I just want to let people know that we will be talking about several CDs that I've been listening to lately that are worthy of purchase for sure. So stay tuned for that. We'll definitely get to it in case that's.
Yeah, we do. We have some CDs to talk about. I've got some interesting things to pop up. So this show is actually going to be filled with a variety of interesting things. So stay tuned. This is going to be fun for the next 50 minutes here on Material Issues. Before we get into this movie, this is my Wolf Point. I know you were asking. It's the white with blue outline Wolf Point.
It's a really pretty watch. As some of you know, I'm a huge watch person. Probably my favorite accoutrement, as it were, more than even my hat. And I'm wearing what has become very quickly a favorite of mine. I have to take it off because I can't orient my wrist properly, but I don't think I can even do it now.
Is that the Zarek?
No, that is not a Zarek. Why can't I position this? That's what I said to her. This is
you have that problem. Yeah,
this is a Longines moon phase, and it's really beautiful. It has a perpetual calendar, and I said it shows phases of the moon. It's a chronograph. I'm not doing it justice here, but it is.
No, it looks great.
It's quickly become my favorite watch. I bought it in Liverpool, actually.
Oh, nice.
Right after IPO Liverpool ended. So I've been wearing, actually, I've taken it off to go to sleep and stuff, but I I haven't. I've worn it every day, and some other days I've worn another watch on my other wrist because to me,
Longines,
jewelry.
that's Longines. That's a classic '60s brand.
There's a classic '60s brand, and then in the early '70s they came out with their Whitnauer 2000,
Yeah.
which was the first calendar watch that would go to the year 2000 and beyond, and it sold plenty.
Yeah.
And ultimately it just fell out of favor. I don't think it's because other calendar watches replaced it. I don't know, people saw it as sort of a gimmick, and there was a lot on the face, and maybe more than people wanted. Plus, digital watches came into fore right at that time.
Yeah, my first Bulova.
Yeah. So yeah, that's right. And of course, the Pulsar that I've posted, the Telly Savalas James Bond version.
Yeah.
That came out in the mid '70s. I just got a doorbell here, and I may have to sign for something, so I will be right back.
It's all good.
Yeah.
Well, my friends, David's running out to check his doorbell because you never know. You don't want any 12-piece vinyl box set sitting in the Southern California sun, so we can allow that. He does have a number of CDs to talk about, some new releases and things. We're going to talk about a cool film that we both saw last couple days with a great soundtrack. I've got a neat little I've got a neat little bit of information to pop up here. So this show is going to be fun. We do have some great guests coming up in the very near future, which we'll talk about towards the end of the day.
Cracker Jack, my ass. It turned out to be somebody who is from some organization. Cute girl, I must say. She just handed me a box, and don't even go there. She handed me a box and said, "I'm from that," and I said, "I'm in the middle of a podcast." And when is it going to be done? In an hour. All right, I'll come back later. And she takes the box from me.
Well, there you go. There you go.
Yeah, I don't think I need to be dealing with any of
my
that.
singing birthday gram finally arrived, and you rejected her. Okay, that's fine.
Damn. And Nina's not even home.
I tried to time it just right.
You did it. Damn, I wish. The opportunities we miss in life. Anyway, were you ready to talk about the film?
What film was that? I forget. Yeah, no, I saw. I did not know this film existed. It came out last year, and I happened to come across it on HBO Max, and I said, "What is this?" And the description said, swinging '60s psychological thriller with a '60s soundtrack." I said, "All right." And the film was called Last Night in Soho. Which
no spoilers here, Mark. I have to be careful too.
Yeah, no spoilers. It's called Last Night in Soho, and it stars what was the film that girl was in? Anya Taylor-Joy.
The Queen's Gambit.
Queen's Gambit. I loved her in that film.
About the master chess player.
Yes, yeah. So I said, let me check this out. And it was really, really good. It was a psychological thriller. It takes you a while to figure out what's going on, but the beauty of it is while you're trying to figure out what's going on, it's got an amazing 60s soundtrack. I mean, just pulled some cool songs out of the woodwork. Agreed, Dave?
Very much agreed. I mean, some classic stuff like Dusty Springfield, Diana Rigg too. Yes, and I'll certainly get to that. But my favorite song, which is John Borak. I'm going to say you right. Anyway, my favorite song, which is the one that began the credits, which is the title song, "Last Night in Soho" by Dave D, Dozy, Beaky, Mick, and Titch.
You got it right.
I've known about them for a while. That's my favorite song by that band.
Yeah.
And it's very different from most of what people mostly know, like Xanadu and Zabadak and Bend It, some of their earlier hits. And some of those actually crept onto the U.S. charts. For those of you from the UK who know and love that band, they were not big here at all.
Yeah.
They did have a few albums come out, and they did have a few singles come out, but they never charted well. But in the UK, obviously, they had a lot of top 10 hits. And it's just their last one may have been Last Night in Soho, and it's very different. It definitely it has a movie soundtrack feel to
Yeah.
it. Maybe something that could have been in a spy movie or in a thriller like this one.
And it's interesting because I looked, having been familiar with that song in general, and I'm watching the movie, and the soundtrack is great. It did cross my mind where this song would come into play, but I looked at who the music supervisor was. I'm not familiar with the lady who is the music supervisor, but I got to give her kudos. She really did a great job. I mean,
she did, but and again, no real spoiler alert, but I just want to warn people. While the movie is certainly great, it is not what one might think it is. And when I say one, I certainly meant me. Going into it, when I heard about the soundtrack and I heard the title, I thought, oh, this is going to be a great movie about the swinging 60s, and Carnaby Street and mod clothing and great music. And I knew that there was a time travel element. I'll say that, but it's not exactly that. But
yeah.
So I thought, okay, it's somebody from now going back to the 60s, finding out how cool it is and blah, blah, blah. Not exactly.
No.
It is definitely, yeah, it's definitely not one of your gleeful romps into the past. Far from it. It's very eerie and very, very graphic with respect to violence.
Well, yeah, but not in huge amounts, as if there was a battle going on. I mean, for a lengthy period of time during this. I mean, it happens.
There's one particular period in the movie where you're going to see a lot of blood. So if you're squeamish about blood, just be prepared.
But it's not a slasher film.
No, it's not a slasher movie at all. And it does, and there are elements of that 60s swing and time in there, no doubt.
Yeah.
So you not just the movie, but I mean not just the music rather, but the fashion and other elements of it.
And I think if you like a kind of movie that really keeps you on your edge of the seat and it makes you think, like, what is going on here?
No, that's true. Yeah, it's very convoluted, and you have to pay some attention.
Yeah, it's a movie that
you don't want to daydream during this thing, or you'll lose the thread of it.
Yeah, there's no getting up and going for popcorn, saying I'll be right back in 3 minutes. Tell me what happened.
But it will be very hard to daydream because, like I said, it's very gripping rather.
Yeah.
And dripping with a lot of blood. But other than Diana Rigg, who, by the way, you will not recognize, Terence Stamp, another legendary UK actor, now is in his early 80s. He's in there and does a great job as well. So a lot of younger people, including some unknowns, and some classic actors and actresses as well. Yeah. Very much worth watching on every level, but just be prepared.
Yeah.
If you can't handle blood, you're going to have a hard time with this one.
I don't know who the lead actress is, because there's kind of two lead actresses. The one that really is the primary lead, because the Anya Taylor-Joy is really not the primary, but she's very much, just underneath the primary. Yeah. But the young woman who plays the primary lead, I thought did a wonderful job in the film. And I've been singing Cilla Black's "You're My World" now since I watched this movie. I've been playing it 5 times a day. It's just such a good song. It's one of those songs where it's like, oh yeah, it was a great song, but then you haven't listened to it in a long time. And it pops up on this soundtrack, which is all over Spotify if you want to go.
Cilla was another one. A lot of the 60s UK chanteuses didn't quite make it over here. I mean, Dusty Springfield had a few hits, but not nearly as many as she did in the UK. Cilla Black had virtually nothing here.
Right, yeah. She's virtually unknown.
If it wasn't for her association with the Beatles and the Cavern and all that, a lot of people in the US still wouldn't know who she is. But she had hits over in the UK, including "You're My World." And of course, Dave. That reminds me. I used to work for a record dealer named Norman Feinberg, who's pretty notorious in the business, or at least used to be. for ripping people off. Yeah, Sandy Shaw is another one, Andy. Yeah, never had a hit here.
And in this movie soundtrack, yeah.
Yeah, she's in there with Puppet on a String, and she never had a hit here. It's just one of those phenomena. Petula Clark made it here too. She was, I would say, she was probably the biggest.
And that's the other thing I wanted to mention with that soundtrack and Anya Taylor-Joy. She does a version of Downtown, which plays heavy in the film, but it's very slow, very eerie, very moody.
It actually matches the mood of the movie better than
right, because when you think of that song, it's like da 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 da. Yeah, no, this takes it to a whole nother level. And Anya Taylor-Joy does the singing herself, and I've got it. On Spotify, you'll hear the a cappella version where it's just her voice.
No, she's got a great future.
Really good, really good.
Really does. She was awesome in The Queen's Gambit.
Oh, this is gonna be Borak again.
Cilla Black's Uncle Bud was a good pitch. Yeah. Yeah. Her. Wait a minute. Cilla Black's Uncle Bud? It must be one of those weird families where the uncle is younger than the.
Yeah, weird family. That's why she never made it in the U.S.
Yeah. That actually is a real phenomenon where your uncle can be younger than you.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen too often, but it happens when you have a family where the oldest child and the youngest child are very far apart.
Very far apart, yeah.
And then and somehow the oldest child has a kid that's born after let's say their brother.
Yeah.
That kid's the brother's uncle, but it's younger than them. I remember there was a show in the early 70s with Jimmy Stewart, a TV series with Jimmy Stewart, and he had a big family. I can't remember the name of it, but one of the kids was an uncle of another kid who was older than him. Yeah. And I remember at the time I first saw them, I said, "Wait a minute, how can that be?" Because all of my uncles were well older than I was, and and then it's like, oh yeah. I'm sure. All right, now let's take this all seriously, people. We may be two goofballs, but to quote Paul Forge on this is serious stuff.
This is serious stuff.
Yeah. So anyway, what were we talking about?
Well, we highly recommend this movie if you want to sit down, for whatever 2 hours and get all your popcorn gathered.
I lost my train of thought about something else. It may have had something to do with the movie. Well, if I get it back.
It's Cilla Black, Sandy Shaw, people who didn't make it in the U.S.
I don't know if it had anything to do with that, but I was talking about Norman Feinberg, who was a very notorious record dealer in the probably starting in the mid 70s and going on into at least the early 90s. He had a store called Infinite Records in Greenwich Village, New York, for a while. But he was more known for his gold mine ads. But yeah, he used to gleefully rip people off and was just, very condescending. And was a total jerk. I worked for him for a while because although he was a jerk, he was also very entertaining. And he had this one Dave D. Dozy, Beaky, Mick, and Titch collector who would always come by when we would do record shows.
Right.
And Norman would always have a table. And I have to say, he had some of the rarest records I'd ever seen. I mean, 10-inch Beatles things from Argentina, for example. Beatles stuff, especially from all over the world, that if you were a completist, you had to have. But his prices were like museum prices. You can look, but not buy, because they were just too high. But, occasionally he'd find... It was harder then because you didn't have the internet, but Japanese collectors always seemed to find them, and they'd end up buying most of his stuff. But he'd still bring it to a record fair. Anyway, there's this guy who collects Dave D. Dozy, Beaky, Mick, and Titch. It's hard to say right over. And whenever Norman would see him, he'd say, "Hey, Dave D. Dozy," because he didn't remember the guy's name, and he'd always just say Dave D. Dozy in that really dumb New York accent that he had. He was a very bright guy, but he's one of those bright guys that's also an idiot. If you know what I mean.
Good memories, though.
I don't know why I even went there with that, but it was funny to me anyway.
You got to say Dave, D, Dozy, Beaky, Mick, and Titch. Did I get that right? I just messed it up.
I can normally say it right. Would you want to go through your life known as Beaky? I don't think I would.
No.
Although I guess he was a rock star for a bit, so he couldn't have minded.
Oh, it's good stuff.
I'm sure all the women he bedded didn't mind that he was called Beaky either. So I'm sure he would take it. But anyway, yeah, it's a good movie, but and also a little bit of advice: don't watch it at 4 a.m. like I did. Not a good time to watch it. Try and watch it when it's really bright out, so that you don't get overwhelmed by the by all the violence and the
But I really enjoyed it, though. I mean,
the depressing nature of some of it,
pandemic and all kinds of things that have been coming out on all things. There's a few movies that I really enjoyed. That was one that I really enjoyed. I got caught up in it, and
no, me too. All right. Anyway, let me start talking about some stuff that I've received over the last few months. Some of which viewers will know, some you won't. Hopefully, a lot of you will learn something about, or will be fortified to buy something that maybe you'd read about but weren't really sure of. Which, of course, is hard to do now because there's Bandcamp and Spotify and all that stuff. But also we're overwhelmed with so many different releases that it's hard to focus on a few. So hopefully we'll help you with that. This is the first one I wanted to talk about. It's the band Pop Co-op.
Yep.
It's called Suspension. It's on the great label Future Man. So big shout out to Keith Klingensmith of that label. They release a lot of really good pop stuff, usually a few titles a year. Pop Co-op has among its membership Steve Steckel from the Sponge Tones, who I always thought had the prettiest voice in the band. I mean, he and Jamie Hoover especially have great voices, but Steve's is so pretty, like McCartney's.
Yeah.
When McCartney's doing a ballad, let's say. And Bruce Gordon, who had a project about 15 years ago called Mr. and Crypto. And if you don't have the Mr. and Crypto albums, pop fans, let me tell you, you need to find them. Whatever it takes. They're great, both of them. Do you have them, Mark?
Yep, I got them both. Yeah.
Oh, boy, are they good? Yeah. Oh, they're actually handy. Oh.
This is like a lot of just my favorite stuff, A to Z. Everything else goes elsewhere, but they're in here somewhere.
Yeah, all kinds of different power pop sounds, and obviously some Beatlesque stuff as well. Now I'm going to play some songs by these bands, and just caveat emptor. My system's not working correctly. It tends to short and distort a little bit. So if something goes out, just don't worry about it. I'll put it back on. But here's a track called Earhart, not Amelia either, not Stella. Sound okay, Mark? Yeah. So you can see the nice harmonies that I would imagine Steve and Bruce are doing here. Although there is someone else named Stacy Carson in the group that sings, so it could have been, but I know that was Steve at the very least. Anyway, it's on Future Man. You can find them on Bandcamp and so on and so forth. Next is, well, this isn't quite out yet, but it's been talked about, so I'm sure the label won't mind. It's a new album by Maple Mars called Someone's Got to Listen. It's coming out in a couple of weeks on Big Stir Records, which of course has become over the years one of the premier pop labels in not just in the country but the world. They release a lot of stuff, and Maple Mars has been around for a while. Mr. Rick Ramotka, the main man, His stock and trade is psychedelic power pop. They've always done it really well. Rick's an awesome songwriter. The band is very tight. They're actually having a CD release show on the 30th at SIR in Los Angeles. But I think it's coming out officially on the 22nd. So you'll be able to buy it there. But yeah, it's a little bit softer than some of the Maple Mars albums, but it still does rock and it still does have some psychedelic elements. And I certainly recommend it. Here's a track called Goodbye, California.
California on the day of my 21st year, driving at dawn on sunset, felt like a lonely Disneyland. Everything is bright, everything is shiny. Every sin is disguised, hiding in clear sunshine.
Yeah, one of the things I love about Maple Mars are those soaring harmonies that they often have, and of course, that sort of psychedelic veneer. Yeah, and nice. It certainly is. So it's on Big Stir. Shout out to Rex and Christina of Big Stir Records for
doing great things,
all the wonderful releases and the hard work that they always put in. So yeah, check that out. We'll be out on July 22nd. It's on Bandcamp right now. So yeah, check it out. Keep checking the Big Stir Records Bandcamp for Someone's Got to Listen by Maple Mars. Here's a band from Chicago that I first saw at IPO in April. They're called Rolling Numbers, which of course, has lots of meanings. But anytime I hear it, I think about Surrender by Cheap Trick, and that's probably what they were inspired by. But this album's not power pop; it's more like Laurel Canyon, 1973, let's say. Wow. So it's got that real California vibe. They've been compared to Fleetwood Mac at times.
And it's a perfect name, perfect band name. Rolling Numbers.
A bit of Joni Mitchell, I've heard, but Crosby, Stills, Nash. Just male-female harmonies, lead vocals. Really cool. But yeah, Bob Vasilou and Jessica Hornstein are the leaders, and yeah, it's good stuff. Here's part of a track called "I See You in My Dreams." Oops.
To the open sea, reaching the sun. Everyone in my life
louder,
faded away, and like the time. So that one day I turned away, I turned inside.
Yep, Rolling Numbers, self-titled album. They call their music American Cosmic, and I can see that. I mean, there's some Mike Nesmith going on in there as well. But yeah, very Laurel Canyon-esque.
Yeah,
especially for a band from Chicago. So yeah, I was impressed with them live, and I'm definitely impressed with this record. So check it out. Speaking of Chicago, this is a Chicago expat who we mentioned earlier. She now lives in San Diego, and she'll be playing IPO San Diego and IPO LA. And she has one that came out recently right here, Start at the End, which that's fairly metaphysical, I suppose. But Tamar Burke, and she's a very, very talented young lady. She, her earlier stuff, she had a band called Starball that played IPO Chicago, a bit more Riot Girl than what she's doing now. Now it's definitely has that 90s feel at times, but a little bit softer. And, she has a very she's got a very sexy vibe, which is cool. You know, gotta love that. And her songs are really really hooky, and some quite beautiful. And where is her album? Okay, I thought I had it up here. I must have it up here somewhere.
And you don't hear the first name Tamar very often.
No, you don't hear it's a Hebrew name. I have a cousin who has that name. But yeah, very pretty name too. Here's a song called "Your Permission."
Can I ask your permission to be someone else today? To say what I want to say in a different sort of way? Can I ask your permission to be the perfect wife? To have the perfect life? Just maybe not today. Oh, 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 oh. Oh, oh, oh. I've got that feeling. I've been here before. Oh, 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 oh. Oh, oh, oh. Will you remind me what I came here for?
Yeah, it does have a cool vibe. There's definitely an Elliott Smith vibe in this song.
Yeah.
And a couple of others where she sounds a bit like Nilsson, but there's also some rockers which I said kind of have that 90s girl feel, like, you know, a little bit like the Breeders, let's say. So yeah, very cool album. I've definitely been looking forward to seeing her play for quite a while. So it'll be great to have her both in San Diego this weekend and LA the following weekend.
Oh, she's playing both IPOs. Good.
Yeah. Again,
well, you know, and everybody, when we talk about things and people say there's no good music being released anymore, you just came across 4 CDs right there already that sound fantastic.
Yeah.
So
the people who say that are full of shit, and that actually brings up a point. I mean, something I always want to think. I always ponder about. If you say, to me, a lie is an intended falsehood. So let's say somebody says something and they realize that they've been inaccurate, and they say, "Oh, I'm sorry, I lied. That's not a lie.
Right.
That's just an accidental falsehood that you corrected.
Right.
A lie has to be an intended falsehood." Now, I was talking to Rena about the phrase "full of shit." Does "full of shit" mean you intended a falsehood, or does it mean that it could be any falsehood, intended or accidental? Rena feels it's the latter. So if somebody said, if that's the case, I'm not sure I agree with her. I think it's more like a lie. But if it is the latter, if anybody does say, intended or otherwise, that there's no good music out there anymore, they're full of shit. There's plenty. A lot of it's at IPO, a lot of it isn't, but it's out there. You just have to work hard to find it, because you get overwhelmed with stuff, and you need to just do your homework.
Yeah. There you go.
And there you go. Tim Allen is also correct. Yeah, right. They're way too lazy to look for it. Either lazy or overwhelmed. Because again, you know, with proliferation of the internet came so much more music.
They're not
listening. More ways to hear it. I mean, you think about all the different music sites that are out there, and all the artists who are releasing albums. Many of them very good, granted, but they're out there, and it's overwhelming. And some people, instead of, you know, picking and choosing, just say, "I can't handle this.
Right.
I'm going to tune it all out," which is unfortunate because they're missing out on a lot of stuff. So it's not only laziness; it's also a sense of like, I can't deal with all this. So forget it. I'm going to go listen to Moody Blues albums now.
Yeah, well, because that's kind of where they're stuck at. But again, if the only place that they found their music is commercial radio, either on your stereo or in your car, I can understand.
Yeah,
time of day or whatever it is, and they're listening and they're going, Jesus, there's just no more good music out there anymore. If you haven't looked in many other places, as you said, to find stuff that's not going to be played on the radio, for the most part, and find it elsewhere. And that's the beauty of the internet, is there's so much other places to find it. Now, having said that, I know I told you before, the latest, what's the guy's name? Harry Styles, which my daughters love, obviously. I gotta say, I kind of dig his new album. You know, it is really interesting. I don't know how much he had a hand in writing it or anything like that. I don't know the particulars. I hear he does some, but of course he's like a lot of the big time commercial acts. They've got a whole litany of people behind them putting it together, but I think it's very well done. Yeah.
I'll have to check it out. Yeah, I mean, every now and then something seeps through the mainstream cracks.
Yeah.
More like mainstream ass cracks, but
I think this album, like if he wasn't in one direction, and if he wasn't, the good looking guy that everybody, if he was just a guy, like if he had the popularity of Jake Bugg. I like Jake Bugg. Are you familiar with him out of the UK?
Yeah.
If he had just kind of that kind of popularity, you could listen to that new album and say, boy, he's really got something going on here. But I think the fact that he's thrown into that, multi conglomerate universe of creating, a star that you immediately sours you on anything. I mean,
that's a very good point, because there are biases on both sides. I mean, the mainstream cool people will say, nobody's heard of this stuff. It can't be any good. And then those of us in the cognoscenti, we hear about mainstream stuff, and we say, oh, it's got to be too commercial. Yeah. There's no way it's any good. So the biases come from both ends, and we both end up missing out on stuff that way.
It's got to all be written by Max Martin out of Sweden.
Right. And I know a lot of it is, and a lot of it is very, it's very samey. But anyway, let's go on to some.
Go ahead. CD number 5. What do we got?
We got, and this is a good prelude to our guest next week, Ray G and Ketty from Cool Cat Music, which is now the premier mail order company for pop music in the entire world, and also a really formidable label. And here's one of the bands that he's just released, and I have to pat myself and Rena on the back, because we found this band. Well, she found it, and then I approved it. The 1957 Tailfin Fiasco, which is a great name.
The 1957 Tailfin
Fiasco, and their album's called Don't Go Anywhere. Rena found them online, played them for me. I said, this is great stuff, and tried to get them to play IPO Liverpool. It didn't work out, but one of the things I'd lamented is that this was a digital only release. So I asked the guys, would you like me to try to connect you to a label who might release your album on CD? And they said, sure. So I contacted Ray and said, you need to hear this. And this is really cool stuff. Maybe think of a cross between Steely Dan and 10cc. Maybe not quite that much 10cc, but they've got the quirkiness factor that Steely Dan didn't have. Right. But they definitely got the vocals and the sort of jazzy vibe that Steely Dan did have. And here's a track called Here All Week.
We're all smashing this for the love and the lady. The Palo Springs and Pistachio Bay. It's goodbye to Miami, say hello, Bellagio. It's goodbye to Miami, say hello, Bellagio. This doesn't happen to me. I don't pray for the good stuff, but I get it anyway. These feelings run no faster than your ordinary Joe. But there's magic in these tips, I'm sure you've seen the magic show. This doesn't happen to me. I don't pray for the good stuff, but I'm down on bended knee.
So kudos to Ray for listening to me and putting this thing out. But they're from Essex, the suburb of London, and it's two guys, kind of like Becker and Fagan.
Steely Dan and 10cc. See, now, if you were to ask me, I would have come up with 10cc first, and then the little Steely Dan. I hear a lot of 10cc all over that, just in the way that they're the way the vocal climbs up and down around the melody line. That's really neat.
Oh no, totally. Almost all the songs have a lot of tempo changes, that kind of quirky vibe, and just really talented guys. Like I said, two guys, and hopefully they'll put a band together and play IPO, or even if they play, just acoustically. But I think these songs really do sort of demand a full band kind of thing. It's really good stuff. New on Cool Cat.
Cool Cat Records. And we'll have Ray here next week. We'll talk about that at the end of the show. But Ray will be our guest next Wednesday in Material Issues. We'll talk everything Cool Cat. So
Yeah,
cool
and,
Cat,
it'll be a fun interview for sure.
speaking of a little quirky and whatnot, whatever happened to Jackdaw 4? Are they still doing
No,
much?
they're not. They're no longer together, as far as I know. I haven't spoken with Willie Dowling yet for a little while, but yeah, they were great. And yeah, they also had a bit of a 10cc vibe, but more modern and very cool band. They did play IPO in London one time, and they're awesome. I don't want to say for sure that they're not together, but I have my doubts. But
one band that I did see, which I loved prior to seeing them at IPO Liverpool, which just released a new single, The Confusions.
Oh yes,
we keep putting
from Sweden. Yeah. Well, they released a whole album, actually, a double album last year.
Yeah. I think it was just a month ago where I saw this new single.
Oh wow! I don't know if it's from the album or not, but
that I don't know. But they keep hammering away at it. That's great.
Yeah, hopefully we'll have them back at IPO. Very strong, 80s kind of ambient vibe. Really good stuff. But let's talk about some good stuff that's new. And this guy is becoming one of my favorite people. I mean, a real lover of music and a great creator of his own. Kevin Robertson from Glasgow. He has a band called Vapor Trails. Thank you, senior moment. A band called Vapor Trails who played IPO Liverpool and have some wonderful albums out. And this is his new solo record, Teaspoon of Time. Vapor Trails are known for having a very strong teenage fan club vibe. Yeah, one of their Glasgow brethren. And this album is a little bit softer than that, but definitely has a strong jangle, a strong Byrds influence. I think the Byrds are Kevin Robertson's favorite band. He's always posting on Facebook songs by his favorite bands, and it's refreshing. But this is his new record. Why did I say Glasgow? He's from Aberdeen. Sorry, Kevin. Oh yeah, Mark and the Clouds, of course. Mark and the Clouds are a great band.
Thank you, Barry. Appreciate that.
Not Barry, but yeah, Willie is not. I don't know what he's doing these days. But anyway, I said Glasgow, Aberdeen. So Kevin, if you're listening, forgive me. Anyway, the point is, this is a really, really good album, and here's a track called "Tough Times Feel Like That." Yeah, very cool stuff. Like I said, Vapor Trails came down to IPO Liverpool to play, and this is a solo record. I know the initial copies, and it's on Subjangle, European label. They sold out pretty quickly, so I think a few more were pressed. And anyway, if I don't mention where you can get these things, it's just look up on Bandcamp. Every one of these but one that I'm going to talk about is available there. And next we have somebody who had been absent from the record or the music scene a bit, but now she's back. Lori Biagini.
Oh yeah,
remember her? Yeah. Stranger in the Mirror. She's from Vancouver. She's very talented. She does songs in really two different styles, either Beach Boys influenced or sort of girl group Leslie Gore influenced. So not a lot of variety, I'll say, but what she does really well. And this is her first album in many years. And I remember she came out to IPO Liverpool one year, and like there was this whole Beach Boys fan contingent that came out to see her because they really loved her stuff. And so, yeah, I was excited to hear about this. And here's a song called Cappuccino, Cappuccino.
Standing room only in the bar today. The rush hour crowd, bonjour they say. And Escalante away on the salted cafe. And then they're off and away. Cappuccino, cappuccino. You say perfecto for me. Casa de espresso, lo preferisco a te. Cappuccino, cappuccino, you're my morning treat. You got your neato cappuccino, you make my day complete.
Yeah, I was getting a Royal Guardsman vibe there for a little bit. 10
Oh yeah.
40, 50,
yeah, a little bit of that melody line from Snoopy versus the Red Baron, yeah. But just trust me when I say that, you know, her stuff is really catchy and
I'll bet, yeah.
Very much in a Beach Boys, Leslie Gore kind of vibe. Funny story: she's had tracks on the IPO CD, and every year during IPO Liverpool, we'd go to BBC Merseyside on Billy Butler's program. You know, Billy Butler's a legend in Liverpool for some of the bands he's been in and for his radio show. And I once asked him to play a Lori Biagini song, and he didn't hear me exactly correctly. He thought I said her name was Glory Biagini, and I just loved hearing her I loved hearing him say her name, Glory Biagini. I told Gloria about it. She said, "I don't care as long as he plays my stuff."
As long as he plays the music.
He really did like her music. Actually,
that's cool.
Another really cool pop label, and this one you have to go to Spotify for right now. I don't see it on Bandcamp yet. Another really cool label is Gem Records, which hosted by the venerable Mr. Marty Scott, and they started out as being both a label and a mail order company in the 70s. And almost any import, quote, that came to the U.S. Would have been handled by Gem. And now they're pretty much exclusively a label, but they've been putting out great stuff like the Gripweeds, for example, the Weaklings, many other bands. And here's a Weaklings member named Bob Berger.
Yep.
He has a new album called The Domino Effect. And in many ways, it reminds me of sort of if Bill Lloyd stuff was a little bit more up tempo. It just has that really good vibe and a very good timey vibe. And I'm trying to pull up Spotify here. It's on Gem Records. I believe it's released. I don't think it. I don't know that it wouldn't be if it wasn't on Spotify. Maybe it's just digital now, but.
Yeah, I thought Maureen said it was released, but
if she said it was, then I'm sure it was. Anyway, here's a tune called Impression.
This is what you get when you get what you're looking for. I was still strung out when I stumbled through the bedroom door. I'm up, I'm down, I'm swinging at the side of you. I'm sipping on the Chardonnay and shaking off the residue. A wine-filled glass, a girl talking trash. I don't wanna know. Dragging my ass through the smoke and the ash. I don't wanna know.
Yeah, good stuff.
I'm buried in obsession. I'm ready for confession. You're making an impression.
Do you hear where I'm coming from with the Bill Lloyd if he was like more up tempo?
Yeah, I get that. I hear I hear a little Ian Gamish kind of thing too.
Yeah, in that particular track, yeah,
that particular track at least. Very cool. Bob Berger from the Weaklings. Andy says,
"How's a new CV? How's a new I? Yeah, it's I have the actual discs.
Oh,
Andy. I do not have the digipacks yet. They're coming shortly. Rena and I will be assembling them ourselves this year, and we'll have them at, as long as we get them in time, which it looks like we will definitely have them ready for opening night of IPOLA on the 14th. More on all that stuff later.
Rumor has it that there will be random IPO CDs that have you and Rena's autograph on the inside. That's just the rumor.
That hadn't been a plan, but now that you mention it, Mark, maybe we'll. I'm not much for. I always get I enjoy having people ask me for my autograph, but I get weirded out also. Like,
that'd be kind of cool. That'd be kind of cool, though. It's just every once in a while, just sign it says, and the inside says, "Thanks, David Bash," or something.
Yeah, I may very well do that.
I'm an idea guy.
No, I like it.
I throw the ideas out there.
I like it. Anyway, we talked about Cool Cat earlier. Let's mention them once more. And we may go just a tad over an hour here, but that's okay.
That's fine. You guys have nowhere to go tonight. It's a Wednesday night, 4th of July week.
Or Wednesday afternoon.
Stick with Material Issues. It just gets better every minute. It's always
good. Really does. This is a band who's been part of the pop scene since the 90s. Certainly one that arguably should be in a Power Pop Hall of Fame. I know I would put them there. They're called the Sun Sawed in Half.
Outstanding.
Yes, and of course, many people who are listening will already know who they are. But this is a new Cool Cat release called Triptych. And what had happened was the band had put out digitally 3 EPs. Yeah, there you go. They put out 3 EPs over the past couple of years with the plan to ultimately release them on CD as a double CD set. And here it is. And thanks again to Ray for putting this out. Here's the one thing about Sun Sawed in Half I have to say. I mean, other than their albums like Mind Flip and arguably Fizzy Lift, which are very immediate, very accessible, their albums are not necessarily fully absorbed after one listen. You got to give them a bit of a chance. They're stock and trade. They don't really try to be hooky as much as they try to be, very cerebral in their music approach. Doug Bobenhouse is definitely one of my favorite pop singers, maybe ever. I mean, what a beautiful voice he has. And Tim Rose, tremendous songwriter, and also a very good singer in his own right. But you want to talk about the perfect pop voice, Doug Bobenhouse definitely has it. And anyway, their albums over the years have become increasingly more cerebral, less immediate. But if you listen 2 or 3 times, you start to get it all, and then it just becomes pure greatness.
This is the kind of album that I call my headphone album. I like to put headphones on and lay back and let it take me on a journey. It's not one that I play while I'm walking the dog, where I'm doing this or that or whatnot. This is more of a sit back and really immerse yourself in it.
Absolutely, because when you're walking the dog, you're looking for something immediate. With this, you're looking for just more of a gestalt experience, kind of, and you need to absorb it fully. And here's a track called "Twist of Lemon."
Great track.
Conversation. I need resuscitation. Feeling the volume explode. She goes to 11.
Yes, indeed, Andy.
I love how she loves me like all the others. I dig how she digs me. She won't blow your cover out of my mind every time with the twist of lemon. When I'm twist of lemon.
That's definitely one of the hookier tracks.
Yeah. And I'll tell you what, I forget what episode it was, but we had these guys on here, Material Issues, a number of episodes ago.
Yes, we did. Yeah,
So
early on. We had
asked them,
Doug and Tim and now
yeah,
a senior. Oh, Jim Holt.
Yeah. Jim Holt. Yeah.
Who won a Liverpool song contest and
is on some of these songs.
He's on some of these songs, and he has his own record that's digital only right now. But
you know, we asked them, we both were asking about how they write this material, me particularly, I was asking them how they come up with some of the layers and the quirky changes and the things. So if you want to find out how they answered those questions on such a great CD, check out the earlier episode here on Material Issues. Everything's archived on Facebook and YouTube.
This is true.
Go find it. It's great.
Anyway, Sunshine and Half, one of St. Louis's finest bands ever.
Love them.
Although they live in different places now, but they originated there. And definitely, some of our favorite people also.
I think Maureen's watching right now. Maureen, is Bob Berger's CD? It's actually released. If it is, drop us a message. Give us a thumbs up.
Yeah, maybe even give us a comment with the website in there so people can buy Bob's album. Really good stuff.
Great stuff.
All right, so the last one I want to talk about today, is this is one that a lot of people probably don't know about yet. It's a project called The Vague Ideas, and the title is New York Letters. The main man of this project is Glenn Prangnell. He has a band. He's a UK gentleman who has a band called Groovy Uncle.
Oh, that's okay. That's right. I know the name. Okay.
Groovy Uncle. They specialize more in sort of mod, 60s flavored mod.
Got some horns in it. Yeah.
And a little and kind of soulful. And some of their albums have a woman named Susie Chunk on them.
Little Renee sings kind of thing.
She's got kind of a dusty vibe going on in the way she sings. This is very, very different. And it's a different project. It's actually he wrote the music, and a gentleman named, I'm trying to read this here actually. Oh, maybe this is a woman, Mayor Roselle, I should say. So Mayor, like Mayor Winningham. So it might be a woman.
We were asking if Bob's CD is actually released now.
Can people go to the Gem Records website to get it?
Yeah. That's what I think might be Maureen asking.
All right, but anyway, let me explain about this because this is a very, very cool concept. It's an album with imaginary letters that John Lennon might have written to different people. There's a letter to Julia, letter to Cynthia, letter to Julianne, letter to Tricky Dicky Nixon, note to self, letter to Yoko, letter from Paul. Yes, Groovy Uncle are definitely brilliant. This is not like Groovy Uncle. This is, as you might imagine, is much more Lennon-esque. Mm-hmm. Glenn Prangnell showing that he can write in a totally different vibe. Here's a track called Bread and Jam, which is a letter to Julian. Mm.
It's only sort of 3 o'clock. Seems like the wrong time of day. I'd love to spend some time with you. So many hours slip away. I'm taking the time to unlead on myself and become just John again. I know that you don't understand, but one day it'll all make sense. I know you got me happy that I'm so far away, but someday soon I'm gonna send for you, and I promise you will come and stay.
Yeah.
It reminds me. It's not the same, but it's a similar concept to when Chris Von Snyder took that young poet and put her words to his music.
Yeah, that's cool.
But these are imaginary letters, like I said. And I guess Mayer is the one who composed the letters, and Glenn composed the music. And I mean, obviously, has a very strong John Lennon vibe throughout the whole album. But you also, you want don't get totally taken in by that. Listen to the lyrics as well, and see if you agree that this could have been a letter that John had written to Julian, or again, there's a letter from Paul. So could this have been a letter from McCartney? That's the key. And lyrically, I think she did a nice job. She or he, I don't really know. I should look this person up on Facebook. Maybe I'll just say they, because that's becoming anyway.
How do they?
None of us have genders anymore.
How do they describe themselves? They, he, or we, they.
Yeah, there are no more genders.
I go by we.
That reminds me, and if people want to stick around, that kind of nicely segues, and not on purpose, into a topic I've been thinking about. And people might be asking me, why are you thinking about this? You're married. But it just fascinates me, and it makes me feel relieved that I'm not part of the whole dating scene that has been taking place over the past 20 years. I'm so glad I'm married right now, because everything I see on the internet makes it seem like dating is an absolute nightmare these days for both men and women for different reasons. But part of I think a unifying factor in this is that social, again, and this illustrates the pluses and minuses of social media. Social media has allowed for so many more avenues to meet people than we ever had when, like, you and I were growing up. Back when you were growing up, you were fixed up on dates. You maybe a chance encounter somewhere, that kind of thing. Even some still arranged marriages. But
think of how hard it was, or how nervous you were when you actually had to dial the phone to call a girl.
Tell me about it.
Talk to her or ask her out. It's so much easier today when you just type, "Hey, you want to go out Saturday night?" And if she says no, it's on the screen in front of you. I don't think you feel quite as bad anymore.
Easier, but in a sense less rewarding, because here's what's happening. Because of social media, we're a much more visually oriented society than we used to be, and we're not meeting people as much in our everyday life because we're home much more on social media. Or if we're on social media when we're not home, we're distracted. So we're not in the right frame of mind to meet people. Anyway, so we become more visually oriented with that. And so it's becoming way, way more than it ever has been about what you look like. Yeah. And also social media brings about the need for immediate gratification. And that dovetails nicely with what people look like, because you see somebody's picture on their Facebook page or their Instagram or whatever dating site you might happen to be on. And that's going to be your immediate impression. And that's going to supersede anything that might come after it. There's no opportunity now to get to know somebody who maybe you wouldn't be hugely physically attracted to, but if you gave them the chance to know them, you might start to fall for them. But now that doesn't happen. Everything is about looks. If the looks aren't there, forget it. And
I've said that many times, but I've also gotten a rebuttal from virtually every woman I've ever said that to. Like, no, you're wrong. No, but
they're full of shit. And any man who says that is full of shit also. It's so much, people will say things like, well, looks aren't the only thing that matters. No, but they matter more than anything with first impressions. Yeah. They do. And if you don't get it, and if that's not there, unless you are in a situation where you can get to know someone, you're going to discount them completely. And that's what happens. I'm so glad I'm not on Tinder. If I was on Tinder, I'd be swiped left so harder than Chris Rock's face.
You'd be charged for a lot of women's iPhones because they were swiping so hard.
Yeah, but the wrong way, unfortunately. So thank God I don't have to go through this. But I'm sure that we have single listeners out there who are having trouble meeting people. And it's because of social media. And unless you happen to be a really attractive person,
Yeah.
you may not be given the chance that in the past you might have been if you met under different circumstances. So it's hard. It's
No,
really
I've tried to say hello to people that I've, ladies that have interesting qualities, not just looks, but whatever. But yeah, I've been rejected by the words, "You're just not what I'm looking for." And if you don't know me, then what you're looking for is what you're looking for.
Well, and that's just it. We've become such a visually oriented society. I mean, let's face it. There was never a time where attractiveness didn't matter. It always did. But in the past, you had the opportunity to get to know people. You weren't rejecting them out of hand. If you were fixed up, maybe you'd meet them and you'd be saying, not my thing. But then if you were on the actual date with them, you would get to know them better, and they'd start to look better. And, the qualities behind their physicality would emerge more. And I mean, that's not dead, but because people are so much, because people are meeting people online more, it tends to even more so supersede everything else. It's a shame, but that's kind of the way it is. And, again, pluses and minuses.
I feel bad. My daughters are in their 20s, and I feel bad for just watching what the dating life of younger people is today as compared to what it was when we were younger. I feel a little bad. Of course, they don't really know the difference because they haven't grown up with that. But being somebody who's now as old as I am and single for a number of years, I really couldn't tell you where to start. I mean, we've had this discussion. It's like, I don't know, and where that leads me, I don't know.
Well, hopefully there are many beautiful people. Well, yeah, for sure. There are many beautiful people who turn out horrible. And that's why relationships, we didn't get to that, but relationships that are solely based on looks often end up, just dissolving because the people aren't compatible. And let's face it, this is just a generalization, but the best looking people tend to be the worst people. Why? Because they didn't have to be good people. When they were growing up, everyone doted on them no matter what they were like.
No matter what,
to cultivate good qualities? No, of course not. And then they become even more entitled and become even bigger assholes.
Right.
So, yeah. I mean, again, there are tons and tons of exceptions.
Yeah.
And everything I'm saying right now is a generalization.
Sure.
And I don't want anyone to think it's my attitude. No, I don't think looks are always going to matter, but I don't think they should be the number one priority. And I think you should always give somebody a chance to get to know them, because you never know, that person underneath may end up being the person you really are meant to be with.
Right. Yeah.
So it's just sad that that's not how it is for younger. So I feel sorry for younger people. I feel very sorry for divorced people who are trying to date again, or widowed or whatever. It sucks. So, honey, Rena, thank you for being my wife right now, and my partner for the last 21 years. Because oh my God, I don't even want to think.
Wait a minute. Ah, no, that's not Rena. I thought Rena was on Tinder. I'm sorry.
Well, you better swipe left if she's on Tinder, because I don't want you. Yeah.
Now Rena's the keeper. You know that.
Yeah. No, she's definitely a keeper. Anyway, we could talk about this for hours and hours, and maybe the next time it's just you and me, to quote Chicago, we'll do that. But now we've gone over by 13 minutes.
Let me real quick. I wanted to bring this up real quick.
Oh yeah, that's right. You had stuff to talk about.
It's my neat thing, but we'll get through it quickly. But we've been talking for the last little bit or so about my want of a jukebox, and been looking around and talking with people, and I found some that were really cheap and not bad shape, but not in like workable shape. And I am not electronics guy. I can't go in there and resolder stuff and look at specs. That's not my thing. But I ran into this jukebox that an older man, half an hour from here, he had a bunch of them, and he's an expert on jukeboxes. And unfortunately, he's had physical problems. He's ill. He's not going to get much better. And he's kind of unloading a lot of things in his house, including tons of old vinyl and 45 and whatnot. But he had 8 jukeboxes in his house. He sold 6 of them. And I found out about these last 2 because he wanted to keep them. They were his favorites. But now it's to the point where he said, no, I don't even, I can't, I got to get rid of this stuff before I can't get rid of it. So today I pulled the string.
Oh, wow.
And I bought, it's not in my house yet. It's going to take some coordination because these things weigh 400 pounds. But I bought a jukebox. This is what it looks like.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That is classic. Yeah.
It's a 1967 Seaberg Showcase SS160. Holds 80 45s. So A and B sides, 160 tracks. And then he said, but unfortunately, if you buy this one, which is the nicer of the 2 that he had, you also have to buy this booth and the cassolette that comes with it, because I'm selling it as a package deal. And when I got a look at the booth and the cassolette, I said, are you kidding me? Sold. And this is the booth. It's original.
Oh my God.
The original diner booth. And this is the cassolette. Full working order. It hooks up to the jukebox. And you can.
I never knew that's what they were called.
Yeah, I didn't know either. Wall box. Everybody calls them wall box. Cassolette. But yeah, so I pulled the string today. The booth will go.
Congratulations.
Yeah, and that'll go in my family room and loaded up with 45s of my own. The 45s don't come with it. Those are his babies until I could talk to him about.
I take it you can still buy the little plate, little place.
Yeah, there are actually apps out there for your phone that you can create these things and then send a printer full color or whatever you want to do with it. So they made 10,000 of these in 1967, but very hard to find any in good condition. And
my God, I'm sure.
Completely refurbed. It's as clean in the inside as it is on the outside. It's gorgeous. And all of this right here, in the middle where you see the red and the blue, the dancing figures, the band playing, that's all screen printed things. Very hard to come by, but all original. Yeah, and 6 speakers in it. Sounds unbeliebable.
So the needle right now is in good shape, or do you
brand new needle?
Oh, nice.
Good shape. He rehabbed it all. He's got the name of like Seaberg experts within like half an hour of here, that if you ever need anything, need any work on it, I can get it done. So I saw it and fell in love, and that was it. Boom.
That is awesome. Congratulations. Show it. Yeah, I'm sure you will post photos of it when it's in your house.
Got to work on that. I've texted the football coach locally, because it's going to seriously. It's going to take
I'm sure
4 like weightlifting strong guys, and I don't know I get my back shot. So I texted the football coach, and and I haven't heard back from him yet. But they're busy.
Right, Eric.
I'd like to get 4 of those guys, and I'll pay them a little bit of money to come
I'm
with.
I'm sure you'll be glad, and I'm sure they'll be glad to show off their strength. So, high school football guys, that's all they want to do. So, but yeah, great. Congratulations. Can't wait till it's there. I'm sure you have room for it in your house. I don't know if I would. Well, I'd make room if I ever get one.
That's what I'm doing. I'm making room. I'm redoing different things, knocking a wall out probably.
Anything to get that.
Anything to get it, but it's a beauty, and I'm very fortunate that this guy, and he was such an interesting guy. I was at his house for 2 hours today. We were just talking music. He's got original Chess 78s, Chuck Berry, Maybelline, Johnny B. Good, gorgeous vinyl stuff.
Next time this is odd, but next time you're there, see if he has any old slide rules he wants to get rid of, because
slide rules.
I'm a big slide rules guy. I grew up at the tail end of the use of slide rules. Calculators started to come into commercial release when I was about 14. So I grew up having to learn how to use a slide rule, and I love them. I think they are one of the most ingenious inventions in the past 50 years or so.
And what he does have, and I did think of you. I was looking at them, and they will be for sale as well. But he's got, and you might have it, but he's got two of them complete sets, the box of the Twilight Zone episodes.
Oh wow, no, I do have them, yeah,
on DVD. So
yeah, we could talk about Twilight. Twilight Zone is my favorite series. I have broken down pretty much every episode into analysis, and I could talk about them.
I saw those there, and I was like, ooh, you know.
I was just watching the Twilight Zone marathon over the July 4th weekend, and there's a site, by the way. There's a site where you can find out which Twilight Zone actors are still alive, and this includes people who had bit parts in the episodes, not just the stars. Is there anything I don't collect? Oh, damn, I wish I had a snappy answer to that.
I probably
don't collect venereal diseases. How's that?
Oh, Lord.
Somewhere John Borak is just shaking his head. Anytime I say anything like that, it puts him off. But anyway, so yeah, check that out. There's still one Twilight Zone actor alive who's 105 years old.
Wow.
She played the mother of Diana Hyland's character in Spur of the Moment episode. Ironically, Diana Hyland died very, very young of cancer, which was really sad. But her mom is still alive at 104 or 105.
Wow.
Anyway, we could keep talking, but we better stop.
This is the longest episode we've ever had.
It is, and it could go on forever with you and me and all these subjects. Forget about it. But yeah, next week we've got Ray Gianchetti from Cool Cat. Again, the premier mail order company and a very formidable label in its own right. And Ray's a very interesting guy, has a lot of history in this business, so he'll be a fun interview.
Yep.
And then after that, we've got irons in the fire, of course. Mark told me about a few potentials, and I've got a few. So we'll just continue to come at you. But until then, until next Wednesday, have a great rest of your great day, rest of your week. Mark, always a pleasure.
Indeed, my friend. And we'll see everybody else back here. Material Issues every Wednesday, 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific. Make sure you subscribe. Join the channel.
Absolutely.
And you always find out. Have a great night, everybody.
Absolutely. Take care. Thank you for listening.